Tree Country 1330 WTRE. Good morning at 7:30 on the dot.
On the dot. Good morning. Happy Thursday, everyone.
The sun is shining.
The sun is shining.
No
It
raining.
is very warm.
It is.
We have 2 or 3 more days of very warm, and then next week is looking much better.
Back into summer next week for
Yeah.
the 4th of July.
That's right, which is great.
Yes. So the city has been busy overnight.
It has been very busy, yeah. So we had a little issue yesterday afternoon where the boring company for fiber from Frontier ran into a center point gas line out in Crown Point and caused a pretty significant gas leak that affected some of our utilities, which then resulted in a a real evacuation of the front half of Crown Point. And we told them to be listening in the morning for the all clear. So that's all clear. If you're a resident of Crown Point or if you know someone who was displaced because of that, you are free to return home. We are trying to confirm whether Duke has restored power or not. But outside of that, we're
safe.
We're headed in the right direction, which is great. And many thanks to not only our teams, our fire team, police team, sewer team, and Zach from our projects office, myself, we're all there as well, but also the Centerpoint team and the utility location companies. As we all know, that's a private sector involvement as well. Duke, there was a lot. The folks at Crown Point, EMS was tremendously helpful. Thanks to Matt over there for kind of rolling up his sleeves. Gary with EMA, a really big concerted response that puts all the training and time together to help make a situation like that a little bit better. I know it's super inconvenient for everyone. They thought they were going to be leaving for maybe a couple hours. Then it turned into an overnight, and the teams started to disperse about 10 or 11 o'clock. And then I don't know what time Centerpoint actually got out of there, but they did get the gas system restored about 11. And then after that, it was checking to make sure there were no other issues. So they are they were very diligent. They did a great job, and Centerpoint should be commended for their response to something that they did not cause, but it impacts their utility. But many thanks to everybody who was involved, to everyone who had to be relocated. Thank you for your cooperation and patience and understanding. And hopefully we won't see that happen again.
A great amount of teamwork going into that event yesterday.
A ton. Yeah, gas line isn't this is not the first time that boring companies have hit gas lines in town recently, but this is the first one that actually resulted in some other utilities. So that was part of the problem, is it kind of filled the storm sewer, which creates a pool, if you will, of natural gas. So that's where the concern came from, of having a bunch of natural gas stored inside structures, which we all know doesn't take much to ignite. So we wanted to be cognizant and cautious of that. But not the first time, but also not something that we see advertised or have a very large impact from that often.
All right. So if you were a resident at Crown Point that was displaced, you can now go home. It is safe.
That's correct.
All right. Not sure about electric yet.
We're not sure about that, but
otherwise you can go home.
Duke should be, they were there a lot of the time. So I feel like they should be back early this morning. If it's not already on, it may already be on.
All right. This weekend, the train was going to come to town.
So the Cincinnati Rail Experience was supposed to be here on Saturday at noon, and it's a little warm for them. If you've ever looked at their ticket options online, they have a couple different ones, but there's only 1 or 2 cars that are actually air conditioned, and the rest are open windows, and then varying seat configurations. So as we might imagine, 2.5 hours in a hot train car going about 20 miles an hour on a wooden bench doesn't sound that enjoyable in the 100-degree heat. No matter who you are. But so they've postponed that. We're waiting to get a confirmed date, but it looks like they're going to try to come back maybe in the fall, which will be great too. And it's a great, tourism boost and downtown boost. I would have loved to seen them come, but also understand that, they've got to be cognizant of that for their folks too. We want people to enjoy it. We want them to have a good time when they get into downtown. We want them to, spend time outside shopping, having lunch and those kinds of things.
It's just been a little too warm for that yet.
It's a little hot.
That's right. Next week, 4th of July is upon us.
It's hard to believe, right? We're ready for the 4th of July parade. Of course, this year it's going to be a little bit different because of the Washington Street work. Tri-Kappa has been great to work with. Of course, they put on such a fun, small, community-oriented event that isn't really that small. And it's going to be on Franklin Street, but it's going to start at Washington Street. So it's just going to be reversed.
Yes.
And the front of the parade will line up at Walnut and Franklin. And I think that's where WTRE is going to be broadcasting.
We'll be right there on the corner.
So you're getting a different porch this year
We had to move porches.
Instead of the poor Rolliger Pearson one?
Yes, we had to find a new porch to go roost on, I guess, for one year. But yes, so we are able to relocate, and it's going to be fine.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And so it'll be, I think it's 10 a.m. on Friday, and then it will head west on Walnut Street over to Broadway, and then south on Broadway down to Gyllenhaal.
Yes.
So same ending spot, same parking lot party, same everything else, just a little bit of a different route. So when you make your way downtown on Saturday, you be careful, be cognizant. Obviously, a little less parking than in the downtown environment. But if you think about the First Financial Lot, the First Christian Church, First Baptist Church, and some of the spaces downtown, you can still, walk north on Broadway a couple blocks.
Yeah, just be creative in where you're parking this year.
There's plenty in there. Be cognizant of the parade route, too. Of course, this is a children's parade, so we don't throw out or hand out anything. But there's a lot of kids involved. There's a lot of strollers, wagons, a lot of increased pedestrian traffic on Friday next week as well because of the 4th and because of the event. So just keep that in mind. Be patient. Give everybody a little bit of room. Come down, enjoy a fantastic event.
It's always fun.
It is fun. It's a great one. It's
a good one to just visit with people. A lot of people are back in town that may not live here for the 4th. So I always find that part enjoyable. Good socializing.
I've Truman and I have walked it the last 5 or 6 years, and you people have their spots. They always are on these steps or this corner. I know Bill Robbins, I think, records it every year from his law office. I wonder what his spot's going to be this year.
He's going to find a new one.
I know. It'll be the one different film in the whole collection. But it's always great to see those folks that, have their spots. So now everybody's got to shake it up this year. Now, you can't even be there in front of First Financial because we're not going all the way down.
That's right.
So you're going to have to move too. Everybody's going to have to find a new tradition, new spot.
That's right. And I think lineup as far as the streets they normally line up are pretty much the same from the map. It's just we're going to go the other way when we take off. So
yeah.
Is Truman feeling okay about the heat and being back in the parade?
I think so. He hasn't told me in English that he's not. So we're going to do it. We're going to do it.
Okay.
We'll get ready.
I love it. Speaking of construction downtown, making its way.
It is. So there was a lot of, this weekend was a little bit of a milestone because of the train and the Tree City Rolling Tour. So Franklin Street intersection is still open because of the rolling tour, and they're making their way east. The intention, and I believe they were completing it, to get the sidewalk for the courthouse, because the courthouse was going to be the public restrooms for the train, that the sidewalk on the courthouse side be open from both ends, Franklin and Broadway, by the weekend. So I think they're on track to do that, which is great. That's good for everybody. That way you can get into the courthouse no matter which side you park on. So again, I just commend the Schutte Excavating crew, Brad and Tyler and everyone else who's just really, truly working very diligently to keep that project moving on schedule and the least impactful it can be. They were, that's a prime example of working with us, the community, and making sure that, access can be there for the bathrooms for the tour. But it's also great for the public because now it's back open earlier than the end of August. So they've been doing a phenomenal job. I don't have a date yet for the Franklin Street closure, but I'd say that will be coming.
It's approaching.
It's approaching, which again is probably the second most impactful part of the project other than the Broadway intersection. We get that it's a little bit messy and that the paving, and everybody just hold on, we'll get there. And I believe they're putting down, or they were intending to put down some more solid type surfaces that allowed for the crosswalks to be made a little bit better, because I know that that's a little rough for everybody. And then I saw this morning as I was coming through that some pavers are going down. So it's really moving east at a pretty good rate, in the sense that when they're done, it's just about going to be done. If you've noticed there in front of game plan, the landscaping's already in.
It is. It looks very nice.
You would think that might be the absolute last thing, but they're doing it as they go. And if you're down in front of First Christian Church or First Baptist Church, excuse me, the sod looks great. The only thing missing down there is paving and streetlights. So it's
coming along. It feels like it's been. I know it hasn't been as quick as I think because I'm not there every day, but it seems like it has moved rather quickly. And all of the businesses are open. You can get to them. You may have to be creative in where you park or how you go in, but you can get to all of the businesses.
Yes, and again, last year when we did Franklin, the whole block was pretty much closed the whole time because we just needed the space to work out of as well. This project, they've been able to keep the footprint a little smaller because they have that sort of secondary staging area there between Pickers Paradise and First Financial on Washington Street. So while that's a little bit of an inconvenience, it's really allowing the space on the square proper to be smaller, be less impactful, keep them a little lighter of foot. And then on down, they've been using the lot from Fifth Third Bank there across from City Hall. That's sort of their major construction lot. So they've been doing a very nice job of keeping that downtown space as small and nimble as possible.
Very good. So again, the goal is Fall Festival. It will be done.
It will be done by the Fall Festival, yeah.
All right.
That's been the commitment. Everybody's aware, and that's not that far away.
It is not.
But they've been doing they're approaching, air quotes, the end.
Very good. Walking trails continue to progress.
That has been a little bit of an ongoing battle. We had to reschedule our ribbon cutting due to some scheduling conflicts. It was that week that it was pouring down rain every day. So we have rescheduled that. It is going to be, we have our partners at DNR, so we want to be sure that they're involved. They provided a pretty significant amount of grant funding, so we need to be sure that it lines up with their schedule as well. So that's going to be Wednesday, July 16th at noon. That also, I think it's the last day of the fair.
It is.
There you go. So we're already talking about stuff at the end of the fair. So we'll be out there. We invite anyone and everyone to please come out, participate. We are also hoping that the library story walk is installed by then too. It was not going to be ready for the previous date. So with the schedules, the weather, and some of the elements that we want to be sure are included. So the 16th of July at noon out at Rebecca Park. Please, anybody that would like to come on out.
It's been nice to see people are starting to kind of utilize. It's not finished yet, but they're utilizing it to some degree already. So
yeah, and it's been couple of the concerts have seen some utilization of it. People are connecting it over to the library. They're getting the library finished up. The library had some landscape work done a couple weeks ago. It looks really nice. They've got their outdoor area. So you talk about like pretty significant investment by multiple different organizations in that section of the city that it's starting to really kind of come together.
Very good. Liberty Lakes, that continues to have homes. I always say pop up, but to me, that's what they look like because I'm not by there every day. And then I'm like, oh, look.
There's a new one.
Yeah.
They just kind of come out of the ground. They are, I think, up to number 5 or 6 under roof. They've got their model home open. They've got a couple sold. They've got a couple additional lots sold as well. And yeah, I'm with you. They just sort of pop up. They bring in a lumber package and put it all together and onto finishes. So there's lots of good ones. I think they've got some more permits in the plant or in the process. They've been in to meet with our building and code enforcement folks a couple times for some other floor plans that they haven't built yet that have to go through the approval process. So they've been doing that. Mailboxes are going in. I think the first home is being sold to the private residents because the Redevelopment Commission has to sign some papers as like maybe today or tomorrow.
Okay.
And that's the first one, buyer number 1.
Very good.
Yeah, that's exciting.
It is exciting. That's happened. And it's not been a quick process, but yet to some degree.
It's been a very, I'll disagree with you a minute. It's been a very long process.
On this side, it's not.
Yeah,
but.
On our side, it's been a very long process. And something, I sat in probably this exact same chair 6 years ago and talked about our need for housing and single family housing and middle income and how do we get folks that want to buy into a bigger home or want to buy into a smaller home that opens up other housing options. And we committed to trying to bring more market rate single family homes to our community. and it's been, sort of a top priority since day one. Our team has really come together. It has been start, stop, go back 5 steps, forward 3, back 2 for the last 4 or 5 years. We had incredible housing opportunities with the markets. Then we see prices increase. This really does a lot of things. It helps with demand. It helps with price fluctuation, and that there's more on the market. So it helps create stability. It's that supply and demand concept that we always talk about in economics. But we're also providing a neighborhood that isn't necessarily available on a large scale in our community, that newer suburban style, smaller lots, homes that people that, have kids, don't have kids. There's anything from 1,200 to 2,600 square feet out there, starting in the mid 200s. And, there's lake lots and lots that look at woods, and it's right on the pedestrian trail that runs alongside Veterans Way. So it checks a lot of boxes, and it's really a big achievement for our team and for the community, I think, to see, the first neighborhood since the mid to late 2000s that has been developed. And that's a huge step in the right direction for our housing market.
With being able to provide more housing, that allows people to come and live here and work here and contribute to our community.
Yeah, we would love to see more folks living and working in our community. That's great for the schools. It's great for the amenities. It's great for the commerce and retail that, we all that already live here want or would like to see grow. We talk about it a lot, right? It's rooftops, income, and population are what the driving forces of that are. So if you build a house, then we, have brought more people, and we've brought more rooftops in. Now, you could also say by doing that, maybe we're increasing the income too. Maybe somebody doesn't bring their job with them. They commute to their job, or they're already working in the community and they keep that job. But there's also a likelihood that somebody's going to move here and then get a job here. So it's income and population and rooftop when you build a house like that. So that's the goal. And I think we're seeing that vision executed. And there's 102 lots. There's 102 opportunities. So we're very excited about it.
Summer fully in swing. We've got farmers market going on. We've had concert series starts. National Night Out will be in August.
That is coming rather quickly, of course, not to keep bringing up the fair, but we've got our kind of public safety night out at the fair, which is our July version of that, if you will. And then we are going to be out at the National Night Out in August. That is going to be, what day is that going to be?
I think it's the 14th, 15th-ish.
It is. It's the 14th. Yeah, I had to find it on my calendar. Yeah, the 14th, which is the second Thursday of the month. So a lot of great opportunity for National Night Out at North Park. We have been working with our partners and vendors that participate in that. It's not a trades fair. It's not a job fair. It's literally just education and fun things to do for kids and adults. It's all free, which is another great aspect of the event. And we're going to do some demos. We're trying to change that up a little bit this year. We're going to see about doing something slightly different while still, having the impacts of extrication and the dogs and etc. So it should be a great event. Second Thursday in August, which will be here again before we know it. Of course, the fair sort of is, there's a lot of interactions with public safety out there. And then we've got 1 or 2 more after that, I think.
It's been a busy summer already, and we're just now getting into summer. It
has been, and random things that we maybe locally don't think too much about, but that do have an impact. The national rolling or the national Bike Across America event has kind of concluded in our section, but folks from all over the country and the world traverse through downtown on their way to the East Coast from California, riding their bikes. It's kind of fun to watch, follow them on the map. Crazy.
It's crazy. I can't imagine.
Right.
I love to see them roll through, and I think, wow, I want to be like you, but
I don't want to drive across the country, much less bike it. But that event's great. The Community Foundation did a wonderful job, really kind of again rolling out that red carpet for them. The hospitality station there in Alley 1822. I think the YMCA partnered with them, so lots of good community partners as well. So that's happening. Of course, then the bike ride is this weekend at the Y that runs sort of all throughout the county. And those are, events that aren't maybe as broad for the listenership, but is definitely a great summer annual event in our community.
It is. It'll start and stop at the courthouse downtown this weekend. So you can take the 100-mile ride if you like.
Yeah, maybe we could drive. We could drive it. Like we
Drive
could be
that,
we'd be the follow car.
Yes, water people.
100 miles through all of Decatur County, and
It's got to be a beautiful scene.
I'm sure it is.
I'm like, yeah, I'd prefer to do it inside the car.
maybe take a Jeep, right?
That's right, exactly. What else is happening across the city?
So those have been the big ones. Of course, we've got our July meeting starting next week. The first is on Tuesday, so we'll have our Redevelopment Commission, Airport Board, Water Board, and then Plan and BZA. So I think all of them are going to meet next week. Just sort of normal monthly updates. Nothing too crazy happening in there.
How do you feel with moving the meetings all into the one night? You feel like it's working well?
It's been great. We've had our team members the team members that have to be there for each of those meetings, don't mind our friends in the media who cover it, like that it's all sort of in one night versus two. Sometimes we would only have one of the two meetings, so it's one meeting per night then. And this has really been a great schedule adjustment. We still have the opportunity. We've done all of our meetings in the evenings for as long as I know of, so that we do have that public access component. We've got the meetings that require the most public attendance, so those that are asking for variances or subdivisions, those kinds of things. They're the latest ones, meaning most likely to be off work in time to be there to be represented. So we've really tried to accommodate all of that. Of course, we've been live streaming and recording our meetings, which is part of the new law that's going to take effect next week. We've been doing that for 3 years now, 2-3 years since we moved back in the building. That was one of the IT upgrades that we made to the building, knowing that was probably coming, but also that it was a better transparency in government. We put that in voluntarily years ago. So we've been doing that for a long time. It's all available on our website. So it's a great opportunity. If somebody can't make it, they can hop on there. So we're very happy with it.
Very good. Any updates as far as funding coming from state level with changes in?
That has sort of been put on pause a little bit. There's been some pauses that have happened. Community Crossings matching grant, CCMG 2 is on pause until maybe late fall, which means that won't happen this year as far as work being done for some paving work out of that. We were awarded in CCMG 25-1. So we're okay in that for that component. The IEDC, obviously, they just announced the Indiana Economic Development Corporation got an all-new board earlier this week, appointed by the governor. That has some things that we are sort of waiting on that are held up, I guess you could say. But the general consensus is that, we're headed in the right direction, and we'll see. Lots of discussion about, SEA 1, Senate Enrolled Act, which was SB 1, which is the property tax bill. Lots of concerns about that. Lots of concerns about the income tax increase formula that was included with that we've been talking about here for a long time. It was touted as, this property tax bill, but there's an income tax increase associated with it. Lots of discussion surrounding that, and we'll see, where all that ends up. But lots of things in flux. Budget season is underway. Our teams have submitted their budgets. Those have been sent to our financial advisors. The city council will gather in August to consider that for the first time as we start the actual process towards the fall. So as everyone knows, we run about 18 months out, right? We have to be budgeting for the end of December 31st, 2026, when we're doing it in August of 2025. That's a pretty hard thing to do, although we run on a 10-year capital improvement plan. We've been doing that for the last 5 years. So we're 5 years into our first 10-year capital improvement plan, and we just add a year to it each year we go. So we're always running on a 10, but we're into the meat of the first one about vehicle purchases and, truck replacements and apparatus replacements, investments, those kinds of things. So we're right on pace with our financial advisors who have been great. And our city council's been really great to work with on that too.
It's still hard to know at this point what the impact will be from SEA 1?
Yes, and there's a couple reasons for that. One, the biggest is that a part of the law that talks about the income tax component, the data that they said we were going to use to calculate and formulate that doesn't actually exist. So that makes that quite hard to, predict and forecast when the data that they require you to use doesn't exist yet. So everyone is waiting on the Department of Revenue to figure out how to create that data. The SEA 1 has two elements. The property tax element's effective in 26, which is fine. But then the income tax parts 27 and 28, that's not that far away. As I just mentioned, we run 18 months out. So we need to have those numbers by July of 26 in order to look at what does 27 look like. And because we run on a 10-year plan, we are long past 2028. And the lack of ability to even have the data that they want or that they're requiring we use is creating a lot of problems with that. So yes, it's still an unknown. We've got some pretty good estimates even for next year. We're going to work off of that. Of course, we want to take care of our team and provide the services that we have come to know and love in our community that people expect, which is great. We want to continue to provide that level of service. We want to continue to provide the services we are. And that's back to the housing thing. We can there's kind of three options here. We can raise taxes, we can cut services, or we can grow. So we want to focus on growth. We want to focus on additional revenue sources. We want to focus on grant opportunities and make sure that we're recapturing the dollars that are being distributed elsewhere back into our community. We want to be focused on getting some growth opportunities that do increase the revenue so that we can take care of our team, so that we can buy equipment, so that we can make infrastructure investments. All of that is our charter, and we have to keep doing it. We can't stop. So it's just balancing, where that's at. Tons of funds are specific to certain things. So I know sometimes folks are like, well, just don't do this and do that. Well, you can't just put all the money doesn't just go into one big bucket. It goes into a whole bunch of buckets, and each bucket has a different set of requirements. So it's not just as fluid as some think it is.
We shall see. To be continued.
That's right. It's going to be a long process. We're going to be talking about it for a long time, and we're starting that process now.
All right. Just to clarify, because we did talk about this last week, private and public roads, because I've heard several comments because one parking lot's getting really bad that you have no control over as the city. But again, just lay out how there are some jurisdictions when it comes to that. Yeah,
there's a lot of these. Actually, there's several private streets across the city which you would normally think is a city street. The prime example of this is there's a section north of Wendy's on Broadway there that connects Smith Road, sort of by the RE/MAX office, all the way up to Veterans Way. That section is a privately owned piece of property. It is not public infrastructure. It is not in our road inventory. It is owned by the apartment complex. Before Veterans Way was built, only the apartment complex folks had any reason to use it. Now that Veterans Way is built, people use it as a cut-through. I would highly encourage you not to do that. In theory, you're technically trespassing. So Smith Road is a public right-of-way that kind of curves around to the left, curves around to the right by the brown buildings out there. That is the public route. And parking lots are not public infrastructure. So I know some folks... For example, in front of the old Frisch's building, there's kind of these large potholes that develop there. Those are, the responsibility of the owner of the parking lot, the property. It's no different than the Walmart parking lot. Those kinds of things. When you turn off of Freeland Road into Walmart, that is a private drive, right? It seems like it's a part of their parking lot. It doesn't seem like a street. So those are some of the distinctions. And then there are roads that you would never even notice or wouldn't even know are private. They have curbs, they have lines, they look like a city street, but they are not a city street. They were either not built to city standards, so we have a spec that if you're going to build a road and turn it over to the public domain, it has to be built to a certain capacity, certain style, certain quality. That way we're not inheriting as the public infrastructure that is subpar to, air quotes, industrial, commercial, whatever standards. So we have a book of standards. It's a part of the Unified Development Ordinance. It has typical sections which tell you, what type of under drain and base and sub-base and subgrade and curbs and curb linings and etc. you have to have, pavement thickness, the quality of the actual pavement. So a lot of people don't realize that there is, 100% new material pavement all the way down to, 50, 60%, 80% recycled pavement. Well, those have differing degradation rates. So we have certain specs and standards that we require for public infrastructure. And if you're going to turn over infrastructure that's built privately, it has to be built to those standards. So there's a lot of private streets that were not built to those standards. And then we do not provide services on those. We do not plow them. We do not pick up trash on them. We do not maintain them. So we have folks that live on private streets that were not aware that they were private streets when they bought the homes. And we're not legally allowed to be there. It's not public infrastructure. It's not public property. It's privately held infrastructure that people use.
And you can't do anything about it.
Correct. And so there's a lot, when you turn into a parking lot, outside the jurisdiction of the city by a mile.
That's right. Just wanted to clarify that.
Yep.
It's all over. So you just don't realize. All right. We a fair coming up here in just a couple weeks. You and I will be back at it.
Live at 5.
That's right. Each night. So.
It's at 5 every night.
At 5 every night. It's amazing. Sunday may be a little delayed because the parade starts at 4, so maybe 5:15. We'll see.
It's always long. It's always hot, and we'll be out at the fairgrounds each night. I'm going to be out there probably till about 9 every night, so it'll be a good opportunity to connect with everybody. We're going to be back in the Farm and Home building.
Yes, we are.
And we'll see everyone out there. Of course, there's a lot of changes going on this year because of the construction, so just be patient, and you may have an opportunity to look around at things you normally wouldn't see because it's all going to be shuffled.
This is kind of the year of change for the year. We got the 4th of July parade going a little different. Fair's going to be a little different, but we're all going to make it. It's 1 year.
That's right.
And it'll all be well worth it next year. So.
Well, we're looking forward to it, and it'll be here before we know it. Of course, next week, again, 4th of July, we'll be here on Thursday, but 4th, obviously a big holiday, so everything will be shut down on Friday, and we'll pick it up again on Monday.
All right. Grandma?
Oh, that's a good, yes, thank you. You saved me. It is my grandparents' 64th wedding anniversary this weekend, so I want a moment of personal privilege and wish them a happy anniversary to Vernon and Dinah.
Yeah, congratulations to them.
That's right.
It's 8:03. We'll see you next week on